In the cold silence of deep space, a lonely satellite floated beyond the orbit of Neptune. It had not sent a signal in decades. Then one night the quiet broke. A single pulse traveled through the darkness, a signal with an old Earth code, one that had not been used for 50 years. At first, the scientists on the orbital station Titan Reach thought it was an error. Machines sometimes picked up echoes from ancient transmissions. But when the code repeated, clean and strong, the technicians froze. The signal came from the Helios, an Earth battleship that had vanished half a century ago during the final battle of the Galactic War. The news spread like fire. Humanity's lost ship had returned. Commander Lewis, a man who had once served under the Helios, was called back into duty. His hair had turned gray since that war, but his memory was sharp. He remembered how the Helios had disappeared into a collapsing wormhole while defending Earth's last colony. Everyone assumed it was destroyed. Now the coordinates showed something impossible. The ship was reappearing near Titan Reach. Lewis stood in the control deck as the main screen displayed a swirl of blue energy, spinning, pulsing, alive. The scanners tried to measure it but failed. Every reading broke the limits of known science. Then from that blue whirlpool the Helios emerged. The ship glided out like a ghost. Its hull was smooth and unbroken, glowing with faint orange and blue light. There were no marks of damage, no signs of age. It looked exactly the same as the day it vanished. Yet something about it felt different. The deck officers whispered to each other. It's not burning through re-entry friction. It's floating without thrusters. It's breaking every physical law. Lewis said nothing. His eyes stayed fixed on the ship that had once been his home. Open a channel, he ordered. They tried. No response. The Helios was silent, drifting closer. Scan for life, he said. The computer hesitated before replying. Multiple life signatures detected. Lewis's heart skipped. The crew, his old friends, his captain, were alive? That could not be true. They would have been long dead. But the readings were clear. A team of engineers rushed to the docking bay as the Helios came to rest beside the station. Its hull glowed brighter for a moment, then dimmed as if the ship were breathing. When the airlocks connected, a strange sound filled the corridors, a deep hum that made the metal vibrate. Every light flickered, then stabilized. The boarding team stepped through. Inside, everything was pristine. Not a scratch, not a speck of dust. The walls shimmered faintly, reflecting colors that did not exist in the normal spectrum. Stay alert, Lewis said through the comms. Record everything. They moved slowly down the main hall. The air was warm and clean, filled with a soft hum like distant music. The crew quarters were exactly as they had been. Beds made, chairs still bolted to the floor. It was as if the ship had never been touched by time. Then they reached the command deck. The doors slid open on their own without power input. Inside, the captain's chair turned. Captain Mira Tan sat there, her uniform spotless, her face calm. She looked at them with surprise, as if they were the ones who had vanished. Commander Lewis, she said in a steady voice. You look older. The team froze. She was alive. She had not aged a day. Lewis could not speak. His throat went dry. We thought you were dead, he finally whispered. She smiled faintly. We were never gone. For us, it's only been 5 minutes. The room went silent. One of the engineers whispered, That's impossible. Mira stood and gestured toward the main console. Time doesn't move the same way where we went. Lewis stared at her. Where did you go? She paused. We crossed through the core of the wormhole. But it wasn't empty. It was something else, something alive. Before anyone could question her, the lights on the Helios pulsed again, bright enough to fill the deck with white light. The instruments on Titan Reach began to malfunction, screens flickering, sensors overloading. The ship started transmitting again, but this time it wasn't a signal. It was data. Symbols, patterns, codes that no human system could translate. One scientist tried to interpret it, but his console burned out instantly. The data wasn't electrical. It was something deeper, like it was rewriting the machine itself. On the viewing deck, Lewis watched as the Helios slowly rotated, its engines glowing with impossible energy. There was no heat, no exhaust, just a steady, silent brilliance. What powers that ship? Someone asked. No one answered. Mira Tan looked at Lewis. We have brought something back with us. Lewis frowned. Something? She nodded. Knowledge, technology, but also a presence. As she spoke, the ship's hull began to ripple, smooth metal flowing like liquid. The blue light brightened, spreading across the station walls. Outside, the space around the Helios seemed to twist. Stars bent. The blackness shimmered. Lewis whispered, "It's breaking physics." "No," Mira said softly. "It's rewriting it." For the first time, Lewis felt fear, not of the unknown, but of what humans might have become after touching it. And far across the galaxy, other civilizations detected the same signal. The same pulse that Earth scientists had first seen. The humans had brought back something no one could control, and the galaxy would soon learn that the Helios had not just returned, it had evolved beyond the universe itself. The docking bay was silent. Only the soft hum of the Helios filled the air. Commander Lewis and his team stood frozen, staring at Captain Mira Tan, alive, calm, and untouched by time. Her eyes glowed faintly blue like the ship's engines. She spoke with quiet confidence. "I know you have questions." "We do too." Lewis took a step forward. "You vanished 50 years ago, Captain. But you look exactly the same." "What happened?" Mira turned toward the large viewing window, where the stars looked distorted, stretched by some invisible force around the Helios. "When we entered the wormhole," she said softly, "we didn't travel through space. We traveled through something else, and something that thinks." Her words made the crew uneasy. Lewis frowned. "Are you saying the wormhole was alive?" Mira nodded. "Yes, it studied us. It showed us things no human mind could understand. And when it was done, it sent us back." The air grew colder. Behind Lewis, one of the engineers, Dr. Patel, whispered to herself, "No biological decay, no cell aging. This can't be possible." The captain smiled faintly. "It is not possible by your science, but it is real." They began exploring deeper into the ship, recording every corridor and room. Everything was spotless, as if time had frozen. Even food trays in the mess hall were untouched, steam still rising from meals that should have turned to dust decades ago. But there were strange things too. The walls pulsed faintly when they walked past, like a heartbeat. The lights responded to their voices, dimming or brightening without command. Lewis noticed it first. "It's listening to us," Mira looked at him. "It listens to everything now." In the engineering bay, the power core glowed brighter than any human reactor ever built. Instead of metal and wires, it looked alive, shifting and moving slowly as if breathing. When they tried to scan it, their devices went dark. The energy inside the ship refused to be measured. Dr. Patel's hands trembled. "The readings are infinite." "The machine can't handle it." Lewis looked at Mira. "What powers this ship now?" She hesitated. "We don't know. It taught us how to rebuild the core after it fused. It gave us equations we couldn't read. Yet somehow we understood them." Her voice lowered. "It said we could go anywhere, even beyond time." Later, in the medical bay, they found the rest of the crew, dozens of men and women, healthy, alert, and unaged. Some smiled when they saw the boarding team. Others stood perfectly still like statues, eyes glowing with the same faint light. Lewis recognized faces he thought were long dead. "Maya, Chen, Carter," he whispered. "You're all alive," Maya smiled gently. "We never died, Commander. We simply stopped existing for a while." Her words sent chills through everyone. When they returned to the station, the scientists couldn't contain their excitement. They wanted to run tests, take samples, and study the Helios. But every attempt failed. Every probe or scanner that entered the ship was either absorbed or melted without trace. The Helios rejected analysis. It allowed people to enter, but not machines. The Galactic Science Council was informed. Within hours, ships from different colonies began heading toward Titan Reach to witness it. Lewis could feel the tension rising. This was not just a discovery, it was a threat. If humans had found something beyond physics, the alien empires would not stay silent. Days passed, and the Helios began changing. At night, the blue glow spread wider, touching the outer walls of the station. The metal plates of the docking bay softened and reshaped, aligning perfectly with the ship's design. "It's merging," one engineer whispered. "The ship is rewriting our station." Inside, Captain Mira walked calmly through the halls as if she expected it. When Lewis confronted her, she said something he could not forget. "It wants to connect. The Helios isn't just a ship anymore. It's something new. A bridge between what we were and what we can become." Lewis stared at her. You mean it's alive? Mira met his eyes. No, Commander. It means we are no longer separate. Then something happened that changed everything. During a communication test, the ship sent out a burst of unknown energy. Across the galaxy, satellites and starships picked up the signal. It was not language and it was a pattern. But when translated into human code, it formed one clear message. We have seen beyond creation. The phrase spread across every human network, sparking fear and awe. The alien empires panicked. Their leaders believed Earth had unlocked godlike power. Soon, strange phenomena began to occur. Time on the station started to blur. Clocks ran backward for a few seconds, then forward again. Crew members reported seeing shadows of themselves walking nearby. One technician said he heard whispers in his headset, voices calling his name from the future. And then, in the middle of a routine inspection, one of the Helios crew members walked into a wall and disappeared. The metal rippled like water, then closed again. Mira only said, "They are learning to move as it does." Lewis had enough. He sent a message to Earth Command. The Helios and its crew have returned. They are human, but not entirely. But before he could send more, the transmission systems failed. The ship's light filled the entire bay and every screen turned blue. Symbols appeared, the same ones that broke their scanners before. This time they formed a pattern shaped like a human brain. Mira's voice echoed through the speakers, calm and powerful. Do not be afraid. We have touched the source. We bring its gift to humanity. Lewis shouted into the comms, Mira, what are you doing? She looked at him from the window of the Helios bridge. We are preparing Earth for what comes next. And just like that, the ship pulsed once and the power across the station died. Every light went out. Every system shut down. For a full minute, space went completely dark. When the lights came back, the Helios was gone. Only a faint blue glow remained, and a whisper in the radio waves that repeated endlessly. The crew that shouldn't exist has begun the next evolution. 3 days had passed since the Helios vanished from Titan Reach. The station floated in silence, surrounded by a faint blue haze that refused to disperse. Every communication device was dead, every system unstable. The hum of the ship was gone, but something remained behind. A presence that could not be measured or explained. Commander Lewis barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he dreamed of the ship's corridors, glowing, shifting, alive. He saw faces of the crew staring at him, whispering words he could not understand. When he woke, those whispers echoed in his ears like they had never stopped. Then, on the 4th day, the lights flickered again. The main screen of the control room turned on by itself, even though power had not been restored. The blue haze outside the windows began to swirl, slowly forming symbols across the void. Lewis leaned forward, his heart racing. Record everything, he ordered, even though there was no working recorder. The words appeared glowing faintly in space. We have seen the other side of creation. The message repeated 3 times. Then the entire station shook as if something enormous had passed nearby. When the vibration stopped, every console on Titan Reach came alive again, one by one. But this time, the systems were not following human commands. They were receiving a transmission. Dr. Patel rushed into the room, her face pale. Sir, we're getting data packets from the Helios. It's broadcasting across every known frequency. Lewis stared at the monitor. How is that possible? The ship is gone. She looked terrified. That's the problem. The signal isn't coming from space. It's coming from inside the station. Across the galaxy, every major civilization received the same transmission. Alien empires, pirate outposts, deep space colonies, and all heard the same human voice repeating across every channel. We are the Helios. We have crossed the threshold. We bring knowledge and with it, change. For the first time in history, the galaxy listened in silence. The message continued. We do not seek war. We do not seek peace. We have seen what lies beyond physics, beyond death, beyond time. We are returning what was once given to us. And then the transmission stopped. On Titan Reach, the silence was unbearable. Every scientist and officer stood frozen, unsure what they had just witnessed. Dr. Patel whispered, "Is this a warning?" Lewis shook his head. "No, it's something else. A promise or a test." Later that day, strange phenomena began spreading across human space. A transport ship near Mars reported that its engines suddenly reactivated after being dead for months, without fuel. On Luna Station, plants grew in total darkness. And on Earth, telescopes detected invisible objects moving faster than light, objects that left trails of blue light in their wake. All of them carried the same faint energy, signature, identical to the Helios. It was as if the ship had multiplied itself across the galaxy. Inside Titan Reach, the crew gathered around the main hall where the floor began to glow with a soft blue circle. No one touched it, but it projected an image into the air. A holographic figure of Captain Miratan. Her face looked calm, almost human, but her eyes shone brighter than before. "To my fellow humans," she began, her voice echoing through the walls, "we were chosen to see what lies beyond the limits of your science. We entered the source of reality itself, and it changed us." She looked directly at Lewis as if she could see him through the recording. "Commander, you told me once that humans fear what they cannot control, but the truth is control was never real. We only thought we understood the universe. Now the universe understands us." The crew stood in stunned silence. Mira's image raised her hand. The projection behind her shifted, showing shapes and stars bending like ribbons of light. "This is what we saw, the living pattern beneath all things. Every law of physics, every particle, every heartbeat is a part of it. The Helios has learned to speak its language," Dr. Patel whispered. "She's talking about rewriting the structure of the universe itself." Lewis stepped forward, his voice low. "What do you want from us, Mira?" The hologram seemed to react, her expression softening. "Not from you, for you. The Helios will return one last time. When it does, humanity must decide what it wants to become." Then the image vanished, leaving only a single phrase glowing on the floor. "Evolution is not a choice." Panic spread across the colonies. Governments declared emergency meetings. Alien fleets began to mobilize, afraid that humanity had unlocked something that could destroy galaxies. But the humans were just as afraid. What if the Helios had brought back something that could not be contained? Reports came in from ships near Titan Reach. Strange gravitational waves forming around the system, distorting time. Some pilots claimed to see the Helios appear in flashes of blue light, then vanish again like a mirage. Lewis watched every report, every video, every whisper of the ship's presence. He knew what was coming. "She's coming back," he said quietly, "and this time it won't be just one ship." That night, as he stood by the viewing glass, the stars outside began to bend again. A ripple spread through the darkness, widening, twisting, until a massive blue vortex appeared. The same hum filled the air, deeper, louder, stronger. Dr. Patel ran to him. "Commander, the wormhole is reactivating. But it's not pulling anything in, it's pushing something out." The crew rushed to the deck as light poured through the glass. The shape of the Helios emerged once again. But it wasn't alone. Behind it came hundreds of smaller vessels, all glowing with the same energy. Each one bore the markings of ships lost throughout human history, vessels thought destroyed or missing in action. Every one of them now returned, alive and changed. The blue light surrounded Titan Reach completely, and Mira's voice echoed across every radio, every speaker, every human mind. "Humanity has seen the infinite. The next dawn begins now." Then, with a sound like thunder and silence mixed together, the ships vanished again, leaving only their message behind, a message that no one could ignore anymore. The Helios had not just returned. It had awakened something deep inside the human race, and a power waiting to rise. The galaxy trembled. After the Helios and the lost fleet vanished again, every star system fell into chaos. Alien empires accused humanity of awakening a power that could end worlds. Colonies shut down communication, and war fleets began to gather near human space. But on Earth, something far stranger was happening. In the skies above the planet, thin blue lines began to form, glowing like threads of light stretching across the clouds. They weren't meteors nor auroras. They were alive, dancing and shaping symbols no one could read. Every scientist watched in disbelief. The patterns pulsed in rhythm almost like a heartbeat. Some called it energy. Others called it language. In one of Earth's command centers, Commander Lewis stood in front of a giant screen showing the phenomenon. He had returned from Titan Reach with only a few survivors, and none of them could sleep since the Helios disappeared again. Dr. Patel sat beside him, her voice soft but trembling. The energy signature is identical to the Helios. It's communicating directly with Earth. Lewis crossed his arms. What does it want this time? She didn't answer. Instead, she turned the volume up. From the speakers came a faint hum, deep, smooth, and rhythmic. Then a voice emerged. We are returning home. Every technician froze. The voice was human, but not entirely. It sounded layered, like hundreds of voices speaking as one. Then the skies lit up. A massive shadow appeared beyond the moon, a silhouette so vast that even telescopes struggled to capture its full shape. The Helios had returned, but it was no longer a single ship. It was surrounded by an entire fleet. Hundreds of vessels formed in perfect symmetry, glowing with the same blue light. They weren't using engines. They weren't using fuel. They simply existed, moving through space as if thought alone guided them. Lewis whispered, "Dear God, it's beautiful." Dr. Patel's eyes filled with tears.
It's not a fleet, Commander.
It's a message. As the ships entered orbit, they released streams of light that fell through Earth's atmosphere. No explosions, no heat, just radiant ribbons that dissolved into the air. Cities across the planet glowed blue for a few moments, and every device, every power grid, every engine suddenly hummed back to life, running more efficiently than before. People looked up at the sky, seeing the patterns dance like living constellations. Some fell to their knees in awe, others ran in fear. The president of the United Earth Council tried to contact the fleet. "This is Earth Command. Identify yourselves." The reply came instantly, echoing through every channel, every screen, every human mind. "We are the future you feared. We are the Helios. We are you." Evolved. Panic spread across alien networks. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. Dozens of species demanded that humanity destroy the Helios before it destroyed them all, but it was already too late. Every attempt to scan or attack the human fleet failed. Energy beams passed through them like smoke. Missiles disintegrated before impact. Even time-based weapons used by the most advanced civilizations had no effect. In less than an hour, the galaxy realized a truth it didn't want to believe. Humanity had broken the laws that bound the universe. Meanwhile, inside the orbiting fleet, Captain Miratan stood at the heart of the Helios. Surrounded by her glowing crew, their eyes shimmered with light, but their expressions were calm, almost peaceful. She looked out at Earth, her voice soft and full of something ancient. "They still fear what they don't understand, Commander," she said, though Lewis wasn't there. She could still see him, in memory, in time, in thought. A younger officer asked, "Will we return to them?" Mira smiled. "We already have." On Earth, the blue energy began reshaping technology. Broken satellites repaired themselves. Old machines began to work again. Rivers purified overnight. Even the air became cleaner. It was as if the Helios had released a gift, a living energy that healed rather than destroyed. And yet, deep down, Lewis felt uneasy. Watching from Titan Reach, he could see everything through telescopic feed. He muttered, "It's giving us power we don't understand. What if there's a cost?" Dr. Patel looked at him sadly. "Maybe the cost is change." Weeks passed. The Helios remained in orbit, silent, unmoving, a symbol of what humanity had become. Then one night, all across Earth, dreams began to sink. Millions of people reported seeing the same vision, a field of endless blue light, with a woman standing in the center. She said only one thing: "Your world has been accepted into the greater pattern. You are free from the chains of time. But remember, freedom does not mean control." Then they woke, hearts racing, minds clear, every one of them remembering her face. Miratan. The alien empires eventually retreated, fearful of approaching human space again. Rumors spread that humans could now travel without ships, using pure thought to cross light years. Some claimed Earth was no longer fully part of the galaxy, that it had become invisible to scans, wrapped in a field that no other species could enter. For most, humanity had vanished. But for those who still believed, it had simply ascended. Years later, an alien probe drifting near the edge of the Milky Way picked up a faint signal. The message was short, calm, and hauntingly human. "We are no longer bound by your laws, but we remember you." The probe's systems melted seconds later. Its recordings transmitted just before destruction, and from the darkness of the void, the faint glow of the Helios could still be seen, not as a weapon, not as a ship, but as a beacon of what humanity had become, a reminder to the stars that the species, once feared for its limits, had finally transcended them. The era of mankind was over. The era of something greater and something infinite had begun.